Well, welcome, Hot Boxers, to another episode of Coming Hot into the Box. I am Carnage.
And I am Slice.
And here you are today.
Here you are.
Here you are is where you are right now.
You made it.
Way to go.
You
1
did
week
it.
down. You did it. I know school's coming up soon. Like, a lot of stressed out people out there. And if you have somebody in that, even for me who is childless, it's like, oh, school buses.
Yeah, school buses,
Fuck my
man.
life. It's just like, it's awful.
I think some people are already back in school.
Yeah.
In like the South, they go back way early.
Those crazy southern states, like, I can't understand. Like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing friends post to kids, like, going back the August, like, 2nd. I'm like, what the what?
That already?
It's like a whole month early.
I remember going back to school like Labor Day.
Yeah.
Labor Day was
Forever.
always like when school started.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's that different. So, Slice, I hear that we got sent to the box this week.
We got sent to the box.
The two of us, both of us.
We both did at the same time. It was like a double penalty. It was a multiplayer and insubordination. We did not leave the track fast enough.
Funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Goodness. Whiskey did not. She did not appreciate us telling the sexy panther story.
I don't think it was so much that she had a problem with the story. I think it was the origins of the story that she feels we weren't quite, I don't want to say truthful, because we were truthful, but we didn't share the whole story.
Yeah.
I think it's part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our podcast and not hers, so
Yeah.
we're gonna tell it like
She can quite literally suck it.
Ooh, she can suck it.
She can suck it.
We are going to have Whiskey on the show, hopefully soon. So, because she does want to give her side of the whole story, which does actually originate in May of this year.
Yeah.
But the Panther incident was just a couple weeks ago. So it has spanned the whole summer. It was the summer.
Yeah. It was the summer
Of the bird.
Of the bird. I think it's just going to be like the years of the bird at this point.
Yeah,
like, I don't think it's ever
going
going to stop.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Yeah.
true. So yeah, so that was our we were sent to the box this week by our friend Whiskey.
Yeah.
And fine, I'll happily serve that penalty.
Yeah, I'm
Done.
fine with it.
Multiplayer with insubordination.
Yep.
That I'm happy to serve that.
It's the
penalty.
only penalty I got this week. You cannot say the same.
I can sadly not say the same.
No.
No, mine was one of those penalties where it's just like, you just didn't want it to happen, like, but you couldn't, and you didn't even see it coming, and all of a sudden you're like, what, did I get a back block? Fuck, shit. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. Totally. Yep. I got it. All right. I'm going. So, it should be known that I can be quite graceful on skates.
It's true. You're much more graceful on skates than I am.
I am very ungraceful on feet. It doesn't take me much to trip, tumble, fall. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but certainly I was a very clumsy teenager and early 20s for sure. But I was bringing my coworker some flowers because she wasn't feeling well, and I just thought I would cheer her up. And so as I was leaving her house, the entrance that you go into is a sliding glass door. So, and that had a slightly higher rise to it, like step up, than a normal rise.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to go leave, I think my heel caught the top of my other shoe as I was like crossing over to like go out of the door. And I like caught my heel with my foot and then like bruised my left foot, but then fell out of the doorway, and like I had a vase full of water because like got tossed down. I got grass all down the side of me on my dress. Like it was she when I was talking with her today, she recounted it to my coworker that she said that I sounded like Peter Griffin. Oh.
I think I would have cried.
I actually thought I might have like severely like sprained my ankle, which was really gonna suck because I can skate now when I don't want to not to be able to. So yeah, it was just like she came like she had closed the door already and she came running back and like as she opens the door and goes, "Oh my God, what happened?" I hear her husband on the Ring camera behind me going like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like, because he saw it on
Oh my
Ring.
God, it's on videotape.
And her little daughter,
Did you
her like
ask her
2-year-old.
for the videotape?
I asked her if there was video. I'm like, I'm sure that video would have been hilarious. And she's like, it doesn't record. And I'm like, that's
what?
Weird. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a Ring, but it's something like that.
Oh, I thought it recorded.
I thought it did too. But either way, it's probably fine that that's not out in the world.
I'm so bummed that is not available for me to watch.
You know, it reminds me of that episode of The Office where like Jim doesn't help Michael as he's falling into the pond. Like he like backs away.
It's I feel like that's our dynamic.
Yes. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
On a similar note to that, because everybody has recruitments coming up and stuff, and we've been doing a lot of recruitment work, and it's one of the main things that people say to me when I'm like, "Oh, you should do roller derby," is they're like, "Oh, I'm too clumsy." I'm like, "Yeah, you're clumsy on your feet. You don't know how you are on skates."
Right.
Like, I run into walls all the freaking time, and I'm fine on skates.
Yeah.
Like, I trip over things constantly.
It's because you're not paying attention, at least for me. But like when you're skating, you are very actively using muscles that you don't use when you walk.
You are hyper focused on doing the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when skating is like second nature to you, like your body dynamic is different. So yes. And I should add to that, Slice, we also do want to hear from all of you about your recruitment. Like what do you do for recruitment? How successful are you with your recruitment sessions? We are going to be doing an episode on recruitment very soon, and we'd love to get your feedback. What works for you? What doesn't work for you?
Right.
What's your success rate?
This is all our effort to grow the sport. And if you have information on how to get people into recruitment and how to keep people during recruitment after like boot camps and stuff like that, please share so other leagues get that information too, because maybe you do something that works really, really well for you that another team could benefit. And again, if we don't have players, we can't play the game.
Yeah. And
so grow the sport.
Absolutely. Share the information. We're all here to help each other.
Exactly.
And on that note, because, we're trying to grow the sport here with this podcast, with, what we're doing out there, I feel like maybe not everybody knows about where roller derby came from.
Yeah. And
on top of that, how it has evolved.
It has evolved so much over the past 100 so years.
So today we have a special history lesson.
We're going history
with Professor Slice.
Professor Slice here to teach you the history about the things, because I am big brained. I'm pulling my glasses up as I say that.
That's so right. Yes, it's quite a sight.
It's my big brain. It is the only time during this entire podcast how many episodes are we in at this point? I think we're into 7, including the 2 open skates, where I've actually sat down and wrote a plan. This is the first time I took notes. I researched, and I am going to put all of my sources in the show notes. So in case you want to go read, I'll put some articles in there that I read that I might not have used, but it's just good reading. Some videos that I've watched, and there's some crazy videos that I have taken part in, including one today, which I will talk about once we get there. Cause
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm here for it. I love history when it's something I'm interested in.
So before we start roller derby, do you know the origins of the roller skate?
I know that the origins of the roller skate was in, I think, the 1800s.
It was in the 1800s.
1864?
Actually, 1700s is actually back then.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're going way back.
We're going to go in the Wayback Machine.
We're going in the Wayback Machine.
Hot tub time machine right here.
Yeah. Anyway, so roller skates were originally when stage actors would put wheels on their feet, on their shoes, to imitate ice skating in productions. So this is like before the actual roller skate was invented, but this was the very first use of wheels on feet, was to imitate ice skating.
That is exciting.
Yeah, and that was like back in the 1700s. And then they were officially invented in 1743 by a man named John Joseph Merlin. And he used them as a way to promote his other inventions. Like he would, like a salesman in a square of trying to get people's attention and doing fun stuff, like the haircut.
Yeah, creating little games for to entice people.
Right. Making it entertaining. So he would put the wheels on his feet, on his shoes, and go through crowds and stuff. But he ended up hurting himself really bad. But that was the very first invention of the skates. Minus brakes, which he could have used.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before roller derby was a thing, back in 1884, the first organized speed skating tournaments were around. And tournaments back in the day were just a wide range of entertainment for people because it was the cheapest way to be entertained. So there was like walkathons, there was like skate-a-thons, there was bike-a-thons, like you name it, it was a thon.
A horse-a-thon,
right, and
a skip-a-thon,
and people loved to watch that shit. Like they loved it.
Yeah,
they were down for it. So
I had heard of that too. That like the start of like what we know as roller derby was more just about racing than anything else.
The original roots of roller derby are like what we know really now as speed skating.
Right, exactly.
Where you're just going in a fucking circle and like a derby, like a horse derby or a car derby. It's, you're just going in a circle and you're doing laps. And usually you have to do a lap in a certain amount of time. And that's in like whoever did the laps in a certain amount of times, they won. They won prizes, cash or items and blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of the term roller derby was coined in the 1920s. And that's what that is. That was the speed skating. So in 1935, a film publicist, also like an event coordinator guy named Leo Seltzer.
Leo Seltzer.
Good old Leo Seltzer, which we are drinking our seltzer water.
I drink seltzer every day.
Seltzer water in honor of Mr. Seltzer.
We'll have to call it our Louis.
A Louis! So Leo Seltzer was put in charge of organizing events for the new Chicago Coliseum. This was like during the Great Depression, and Leo had already done like walkathons. I think he read an article or something about how the great American pastime of roller skating, and how like 90% of people roller skated at some point in their life. So it was like, oh,
yeah, people
instead of doing walkathons, why not do like a skate-a-thon?
Yeah.
So and this was like, did I ever say this was like during the Great Depression?
Yeah.
Okay, because Great Depression kind of is like 1929 to like World War II. Yeah.
Two.
So that's kind of like the area of the Great Depression.
Basically
so
the 30s.
You needed cheap entertainment for the masses.
Right.
And people like publicists and, you know, film people, they needed a way of making money too, because it's like they can't make money without people coming to events, but those people don't have money.
Yeah, and I do wonder about like, if, you know, since we were in the Great Depression, how were people able to afford roller skates? Like that's kind of my thinking too. Like, I'm actually surprised that
it's something that people
thing,
just had,
which is kind of odd, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird that people would. I mean, I don't think it's weird because I own like I have a collection of roller skates, but like I just find that's
think
really
of it as like the TV of the 1920s. Like everybody has one. And it doesn't matter what your income is, because they're not that expensive to make at that point.
Yeah, because weren't they the ones that just attached to your boots?
Well, the ones like the early ones, but like by the 1935 era of roller skates, they were actually the boots.
Boots, got it.
Like the early representation ones are like the ones that strap to your feet, but these ones are actual.
Or the ones that you learn on when you're like 2 years old, which is
those
so
yellow
great.
ones.
Those are the yellow like little Tykes ones or Fisher Price ones.
Is Play School?
Oh, maybe Play School.
Maybe
yeah.
Play School. Yeah, like yeah, they're similar to that. I'm pretty sure I had a pair of those, by the way.
Oh, I definitely did.
Yeah.
And I have a picture. I wish it came out more clear, but I have a picture of the first time my nephew went of roller skating, and I was helping him learn how to roller skate, and he was like 2.5, I think, and I love it so much.
I have a picture of me and my niece.
Oh,
when she was like, we put little skates on her little feeties and stuff. Yeah, that was like, I think that was last year. She was like 2.
oh,
So I have that too.
oh. See, it's just like those. I mean, that it's always been such a big part of my family, which I mentioned, I think, in episode 1, which is like forever ago at this point.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
But yeah, it's just, I love it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue on.
Continuing on. Okay.
I'm riveted.
So, all right. So we're at 1935, and good old Leo is trying to find a new thing to bring the masses to. So he knew he needed an event. He knew he wanted skating, and he knew he wanted women, because basically,
he wanted women, huh?
He wanted
hubba.
He wanted to make sure that there were women, because, you know, it's just sex and violence sell.
Oh, is that so? Even back in the 1930s?
Even back in the 1930s, sex and violence sell. So he wanted women because people wanted to watch women skate, you know. So there was both women and men. Roller derby started out equal across the board of women and men skaters. So, all right. So this new roller derby was more of an endurance thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the Transcontinental Roller Derby was created. And what this was a month long with a max of 42 days of an endurance race made up of 25 two-person teams of 1 man and 1 woman.
Huh.
So, even though it was across the board, like both men and women skated, only the men skated with the men and only the women skated with the women. And they would skate for about 11.5 hours a day, but they would rotate off. So the men would skate, and then the women would come on and skate. And then the men would skate, and then the women would come on and skate. And like this lasted like a month. Straight. The crazy thing is they were not allowed to leave the venue.
So they had to like sleep there.
They slept there and they ate there.
Like, what if they had to like poop? How?
I mean, there's bathrooms there.
I know, but
at the
like
Coliseum.
I don't know why I'm so concerned about bodily functions here.
Are you worried because like somebody doesn't poop in a public bathroom?
Yeah,
and,
like
what happens? I would hope that they wouldn't sign up for a month-long event if they're
for
having
a month-long event. Yeah,
Frick.
so people would just come at all hours of the day and night and like watch them do this.
I guess. And they skated on a banked trap for 57,000 laps.
On a bank track.
On a banked track, which at the end of the whole thing was the equivalent of about 2,700 miles.
Wow.
Which is about roughly the length of the United States.
So I wonder if they were allowed to go in like non-derby direction, like switch up the direction.
I had the same question when I was reading it. I didn't find anything that said. I think they all went in the same direction.
Oh, sweet
but
Lord.
I could be wrong. But imagine how bad, like if you had sciatica.
Oh, my sciatica.
Oh, my sciatica. Yeah.
But,
like your one hip would be great.
And I just like, it reminds me of that bad M. Night Shyamalan movie that had like the guy that just had the one pumped arm.
Yeah.
It like your one side, I feel like is going to be.
I
like,
hope for the sake of, I would hope that people were like, let's switch direction.
I mean,
like,
how smart were they back in the 1930 somethings?
I mean, it doesn't seem like they were very smart, but so they all got about 6 meals a day because they're burning so many calories. So I mean, at least they had that. But the fact that they just could not leave, like, and then somebody from your team always had to be skating. Like you couldn't take a break, and if you took a break, you were disqualified.
Huh.
Yeah. So only out of that first one, I think it was only like 9 out of 25 teams finished the event.
Unsurprising.
Yeah, but they had in-house like medical staff, like nurses and stuff that checked on them and stuff to make sure that they were okay. But I imagine that that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Like, we bitch about 27-5. Are now 2-10.
Rightfully so.
2-10 now. But yeah, it's like, can you imagine skating for like 11 and a half hours a day?
No.
Oh
No, I cannot.
God. I'm hard pass.
I mean, I can skate for maybe 2 hours straight. I've done trail skates that lasted like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
On a banked track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and also pads and helmets, not yet a thing. Not yet a thing in this. So, good old Leo took the show on the road.
Good old Leo.
Good old Leo.
Thanks, Mr. Seltzer.
Thanks, Mr. Seltzer. So, the problem is that just like NASCAR or anything else that goes in a circle, all you're doing is watching people skate in a circle. How entertaining is that?
I mean, it depends, Alex.
It does depend. But
probably not very exciting.
Would you sit there for 11 and a half hours?
Oh, 100% no thank you.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Right.
I am going to do other things with my time.
Yeah. No. So, with the help of a man named Damon Runyon could be, it was discovered that similar to NASCAR and other things, that when people crash into each other or fall, it becomes very entertaining because the golden rule is sex and violence sell.
Uh-huh.
So now roller derby became speed skating with contact, became full contact. So
if it bleeds, it leads, baby.
Yep. So this is kind of, now everything's starting to sound a little bit familiar. So while on the road, it developed into 2 5-person teams skating together for 15-minute periods, earning points when members lapped each other. So that is kind of like now we're starting to mold into like a little bit of what we know now.
And what year was this approximately? In the 30s?
This is the late 30s.
Late 30s. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we start to see a semblance of roller derby in the late 30s.
Right. And then it was built on being entertainment. So you need a way to entertain people. So this is kind of when the start of good guys versus bad guys shtick kind of started coming along. Of like, you have the dark, Jersey team.
Oh, of course.
And then you have like the gold Jersey team that is like the good guys and that play clean. And so this is like, it's all starting to become entertainment. And this is when it kind of starts, people start questioning how real, like this is when it starts getting a little bit like iffy on like, is it real or is it staged?
Almost like a WWE.
Almost. We're almost at the WWE part because it does get more staged as we go along, but this is kind of the beginning stages of that.
Right.
So by 1941, the sport, which it is a sport because there's leagues. They have like leagues now.
Most of them are out west, if I'm not mistaken.
No, so right now we're still in like the Midwest.
Oh, Midwest, right.
And now like it will move to New York.
Oh, sweet.
Because Madison Square Garden is where they held like the championships and stuff, and like sold out, and it was like people upon people packed Madison Square Garden to watch roller derby tournaments.
Can you guys imagine?
Can you imagine? So, so we're in like 1941 and the sport had grown. We're at like 4 million spectators ish.
Wow.
For roller derby.
Back then too.
Yeah. So 1948, roller derby has now been introduced to the television, and then TV turned, these roller derby players into stars.
Right.
I would like to add that everything up until this point is only white people.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised. I would just like to say, like, this, we haven't crossed the threshold of diversity yet, unfortunately. So it's a lot of white people skating in circles. But still at this point, it's still both men and women. It's still men skating with men, women skating with women, but both genders are still in the sport.
Got it.
But just like today, I mean, it's the wage gap has closed a little bit more, but women made about 66 cents to every man's dollar.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So for a woman skater who, I mean, people are coming to watch these women skate more than they're coming to watch the men skate, but the men are making more money. Like the average woman skater made about $10,000, where the man made about $15,000. Yeah, there was a big wage gap. And so, we haven't gotten to the point of diversity yet. Right. Either. So just imagine how little those players are going to be getting paid once that is introduced. But,
right. That's disgusting.
It is disgusting, and I hate it.
I hate it.
So in this time where like skaters are becoming popular, if you go back and you watch the footage back, in the 1940s, it's like there's no helmets, there's no pads, there's people getting chucked, and it just makes you cringe because it's like we're still on a banked track.
Right.
So there's people running into bars and, getting thrown off of the track and stuff. Right. So it's concerning. I can't imagine the amount of concussions that came from this.
Yeah. Yikes.
All right. So we're at 1949.
1949.
All right. So 1949, the National Roller Derby League was founded, and the first roller derby series was held.
Ooh, where was it held?
New York, Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
we're in New York now.
I'm following along.
So for the first 5 years, the titles went back and forth between the New York Chiefs and the New Jersey Jolters.
Ooh.
And then in 1950, a film called The Fireball featured Mickey Rooney as this like short dude who was like an annoying guy who was a roller derby player, essentially. But also features a little known actress named Marilyn Monroe.
No way.
Yeah, she has like about 8 speaking parts throughout the whole movie. Yeah, so yeah.
What is it called?
The Fireball.
The Fireball.
Yep.
Well, we should definitely watch that.
We should. It looks horrible.
Okay. So maybe but for bad movie night.
Yes, we do. Bad movie night, indeed. It's classic 1950 film. Mickey Rooney, big guy, big deal back in Hollywood then, but it has become so popular that it is in feature films. Which is
awesome. I mean, hey, any publicity is good publicity.
Right.
For the sport.
Did you know?
No.
This is a little question for you.
Didn't know.
Did you know that in 1952, the Roller Derby Hall of Fame was established?
There's a Roller Derby Hall of Fame?
Yeah, apparently.
Is it still going?
I have no idea.
I'd be interested to know that.
Yeah, me too. Like, we should look into that. But there was a Roller Derby Hall of Fame. Maybe still is. We have no idea. I only have so much time to research.
Yeah, I know. You're a very busy woman.
I am a very busy woman doing very busy business stuff.
Yes, we are very busy business bitches.
Yes, business.
Yes.
That's my business talk for you. All right. So, 1952, Roller Derby Hall of Fame was established. And then 1953, roller derby started to become overexposed on TV. So they took, roller derby kind of on a world tour.
Ooh.
So to
international
kind of
sensation.
Roller derby to other countries.
Mm.
So in the 1950s, the Roller Derby League was moved from New York to LA with new teams such as the Los Angeles Braves and the California Bombers.
Ah, yes.
The Bombers is like most people recognize the Bomber
That's the name that people recognize.
People recognize the Bombers.
Yep. I cannot tell you how many elders out there have, when I mention that I do roller derby, will be like, oh, I remember watching it back in the 60s with the Bay City Bombers, or not the Bay City, yeah, right?
California Bombers.
The California, with the Bombers.
Yeah, they were a very popular team.
They were.
Yeah, I one day stumbled upon a Facebook page, and it was like the roller derby greats of like that time, and they were talking about like the Bombers and stuff like that. So this is kind of like we're starting to move more into the WWE stage shit now.
Yeah.
Is where we're going. It's like, and people were confused because they didn't know whether it was real or if it was staged. And,
right.
They were claiming the entire time that, oh, it's not staged, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it was.
Yeah.
It was, my personal opinion says that it was staged. Like, if you watch it, it looks staged.
Yeah. Yep.
And just like today, roller derby is confusing. People don't know what's going on. They don't know the rules. Again, explain the rules to people. And if you're having a bout, do a like, what is it? A demonstration, a mock jam at the beginning of your bouts so people know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't be entertained if you're confused the entire time. So this
your
is
PSA for today.
This is my PSA for today because I feel like it's very important.
It is quite.
Like, you want to grow your league, you want to grow the sport. Explain to people how the game is played.
Yeah.
Anywho, here we are. All right, 1960. Leo, good old Leo, hands his league over to his son, Jerry.
Well, that's very kind of Leo.
Yeah.
Way to go, Leo.
I think he was kind of done. So
way to be a nepotist.
Unfortunately, this is kind of the start of the fall. Of roller derby, the original roller derby. But kind of in a good way. So Jerry wants safety for the players.
Yes. That sounds like it makes sense.
Right. So, this is when helmets became mandatory. Unfortunately, like if you go back and watch some of the videos, which again, I'll put videos in show notes. Helmets are flying off all over the place. They're not secured on like anybody's freaking head.
So they just have like these like bowls that sit on their head.
They're horrible helmets, but like some stay on, but some like because you're still knocking people over, but some people in the sport are starting to not want to do the contact, like
right,
because like again it's dangerous
and it hurts
and we're still on a banked track.
Right.
I'm backtracking just a minute because I think it's important to say. All right, so before 1960, in 1958, a woman by the name of Darlene Anderson was the first Black woman to open the door for diversity in roller derby. She's the first Black woman to play.
Nice.
Yeah, she's the first person of color to play roller derby.
Darlene
Anderson.
Darlene
in 1958.
Oh,
yep.
I would like to shake that woman's hand.
Yep. She broke that barrier, and she played for the Bombers.
Nice.
So it is San Francisco Bay Bombers.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. She took it all over the world. She skated for Hawaii All-Stars, San Francisco Bay Bombers, the New York Chiefs, the Los Angeles Braves, and a whole bunch of others.
Oh wow.
So, yep.
Way to go, Mrs. Anderson.
Thank you, Miss Anderson. Okay, so that was 1958. That was right before handed over to Jerry. So Jerry moves everything to Northern California, creating the San Francisco Bombers. That lasts for about 13 years.
Okay.
And we're still traveling.
So it's traveling all around the country.
Traveling all over the country. It's still popular. It's still on TV.
Excellent. I can tune in on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning.
It's, it really has become very WWE-esque of its entertainment.
Professional wrestling on roller skates.
Professional wrestling on roller skates. So in the May of 1973, 27,135 fans went and watched a triple header World Championships at the Shea Stadium. That very same year, everything came to a halt, with some blaming it on operation costs and low viewership, and the original Roller Derby League skated its last game December of 1973 in New York.
Aww.
Some people say it was due to the cost of oil going up, but if you go, there's interviews with people who were skaters who were like, they just stopped and they did not tell us why, and apparently they still had a whole bunch of people coming and watching, and people were viewing it, but it could been maybe Jerry was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And that killed it. Jerry sold everything to the National Skating Derby, and there was an attempt to save it, but it fizzled out by 1975, which takes us to 1989. With the debut of Super Roller Dome.
Ooh,
on television.
Super Roller Dome.
Tell me more. Have you watched any Super Roller Dome?
No, I've never watched it.
You've never watched it?
No.
Okay. Super Roller Dome, where really the slogan should have been, the bigger the hair, closer to God. It was with
the helmets?
They had helmets.
Or was their hair the helmet?
I think they had helmets under. They had hair. They came out, but I think when they were playing, they were wearing helmets.
Okay.
So, oh my God, I can't remember. And I watched an episode, but I was just, there was so much going on. It is like sensory overload to watch this show. It's insane.
I'm going to watch it now.
It's basically like gladiators on skates. It was big. It was dramatic. It was very 80s. It was like, you got your leather. You got your people coming out with baseball bats. Everybody had a fun name, very similar to the Gladiators back
Got
in the
it.
day, you know, with the jumpsuits and everything.
Oh yeah.
The track was like this figure 8 track. So we've moved away from the oval, and now we're on figure 8, and only one side was just like heavily banked, and that's what they called the wall of death.
Oh, well, aptly named.
Right. And so like that's how you got points, was how far you were able to go up onto the wall of death without going over.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
there was
almost like
there was like places of like each thing was like a number of like how many points you got. Yeah. And but you also got points for passing people.
Okay.
The show is insane. Like there's props, there's the wall of death, there's cheerleaders, and there's alligators.
I'm sorry, what?
There's
Like alligators?
so when
live
when
alligators?
they're showing the live alligators, and there's only at one point they only use alligators once, but
But still.
only, I say that like only, but so when you're looking at the alligators, you're like, oh, those are alligators. But then when this like fucking George of the Jungle dude comes out and is carrying this alligator, it's like the size of your dog. It's the tiniest fucking alligator. And they called it like the alligator pit. And this is like what happened was, if there was a tie, the 2 players had to like race around the track, and whoever was the first person to reach 5 laps or push their opponent into the alligator pit won.
Oh.
If there was a tie. But there was only ever a tie the very first episode. In my belief, I think it's because they only got alligators for the first episode.
For the first episode. Yeah,
But
what kind of coked up idea was that?
oh my! And when I told this to Jay, he was like, everybody was on cocaine. He was like,
Everybody was
he
on
was
cocaine.
like, George of the Jungle's on cocaine. The alligators are on cocaine. It's just the skaters are on cocaine. It's just on cocaine. It's so crazy. It is a wild fucking ride. And
I am so excited to watch it now. That's what I'm doing after this.
It's just oh my god, it was just insane. Unfortunately, it was a flop. It didn't last.
Really?
It didn't last. Yeah.
That is surprising.
I would have watched it.
I mean, okay.
It's alligator pit.
Okay.
But actually, to be fair, I felt really bad for the alligators.
Well,
like when I was watching like the clips from this show, I was like, those poor little baby alligators.
I'm sure they were terrified.
They were probably traumatized.
Oh.
Yeah, and like if you fell into the alligator pit, you would fall on one of these little alligators.
Oh.
How horrible
Awful.
is that?
No, that's terrible. When you said alligator pit, I'm like, but there are people on roller skates. Like it could get
right.
hurt.
Oh man, it was so yeah. That it didn't last long. So that was 1989. Okay, so we're gonna fast forward 10 years.
Okay, thank God.
Okay, not really. We're not going thank God yet, because in 1999, Spike TV introduced Roller Jam.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
With Roller Dome, right? That's what it was called. Yeah, the Super Roller Dome. Okay, so there was only 4 people on each team.
Oh shit.
Right. So in Roller Jam, we're back to 5.
Okay.
We're back to 5. There is a person with a special helmet that scores the points, and they score the point by lapping the pack. So we have a pack, and you have your person scoring the points. Like it's now we're starting to get back to what we know today as roller derby. It's still men and women, but it's still women skate with women and the men skate with men. Like there's no mix. But unfortunately it's still so freaking staged. It is literally like watching the WWE, because like they create fake rivalries between people. Like they were giving like this backstory between these 2 women about how they used to be roommates, and then they got into a physical altercation, and now they hate each other. And it was like the one team was like the bad girls, and then the other team were like the good girls.
Oh God.
So one girl had her knee in a brace, like she was injured for this season. There was no obviously very, very fake. Like that brace was the cleanest brace I've seen in my entire life. Those crutches were the cleanest crutches, but she got injured by another skater from the other team, and then at one point that skater came over and took her crutch out from underneath her, and she fell down, and they were yelling at each other, and it was just like this totally made up fake thing that they needed to have for entertainment value. But the setup is starting to get very, very similar but in this case they had the people with the special helmets, I don't think they're called jammers yet, start out in front of the pack. So the pack starts moving and the jammers take off. So the jammers didn't have to make their way through the pack the first time. They just had to skate around to get to the pack again. And that's how they scored points. But they scored points for each person of the opposite team that they passed. And the call off was the same, using the hips as the call off. So it's
interesting.
Yeah. So now we're getting a little bit closer. And they did whips.
Yes.
To whip people around the track. And but they did some weird stuff because it was each cycle was 45 seconds and there was 6 cycles.
Yep.
So the first 2 cycles were very similar to what we know now as roller derby. And then the 3rd and the 4th cycle, 2 jammers went out on one team and 1 jammer on the other team. And then the next cycle, 2 jammers from the other team and 1 jammer from the team that already had the 2 went out. It was weird, but then they went back to 1-on-1.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure why they did that. They never explained it.
Okay.
At least what I watched. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Right. So, that lasted for a couple of seasons and then it died.
I've never even heard of that. That's crazy that
it was Spike TV. And it was supposed to be both skates and inlines.
Oh, okay.
But all I saw people use were inlines.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is all inline.
Yeah, this is all inline.
Huh.
So.
Okay. We're on to our next leg of the journey.
We are on to the next leg of the journey. And this is 2001 in Austin, Texas.
God bless you, Austin, Texas.
Yes. Texas Roller Girls. Self-funded through dues and league membership started what we now know as roller derby.
Oh, God bless you, Austin, Texas.
And it was no longer both men and women. It started out as a women empowerment thing because there's no full contact women's sports.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be a safe place for women to do a full contact sport.
Nice.
So the game spread like wildfire. As soon as people started, instead of having the banked track, people started taping off the tracks. So now, you have certain areas that already have the banked tracks, and now you have your flat track.
Right.
So flat track is what made it accessible.
Right.
To everybody.
Right.
As long as you had the space. So you were able to tape it off. Nobody had to store. So they were able to tape it off, and nobody had to store a banked track.
Right. Right. And I think the accessibility, when I bring it up to, new clients or, just in passing with people who don't know roller derby, when I'm talking about it and they find out I do it, or when I'm talking about when they find out that I play roller derby and I'm talking about it for a little while, it always comes up that it's it's not on a banked track. People are surprised that it's not on a banked track. And I'm like, well, no, I said, you have to understand, having it as a flat track makes it so much easier for more people to do.
Right. It makes it very, very accessible.
Yeah, totally.
Which is great. And that's kind of what made the sport take off.
Right.
It's expensive to build a banked wooden banked track.
Oh God, yeah.
And then imagine like the maintenance and the upkeep that people who do have bank tracks have to do to make sure that it's safe.
Yeah, and like solid. And
yeah.
I mean, with all that movement, like screws are gonna come loose, and like things are gonna definitely.
And the cost of wood is going up.
Hey, in this economy. You know, who can build a bank track
in this economy?
Crazy.
Yeah. So it spread like wildfire, and then in 2009, the release of the movie Whip It.
Ah, yes.
With star Elliot Page and produced and directed by my all-time love, Drew Barrymore. I love her. I love her so much. I want to meet her one day and just give her a hug.
Oh, well, I hope I'm there. I hope I'm there for that moment.
It would. Yeah.
I'll take lots of pictures.
Never Been Kissed is my all-time favorite movie.
Okay.
I love it so much. Don't judge me.
I will give you that one. You got it.
So, as of today, the RCDL, Roller Derby Coalition of Leagues, which is a bank tracked league, coalition of leagues, has 8 leagues and over 400 skaters and officials. So, still bank track out there.
Nice.
Still awesome, still valid in the world of so many flat track derby. The WIFTA, Women's Flat Track Derby Association, has over 400 leagues on 6 different continents. And that does not include non-WIFTA leagues.
Right.
That's only WIFTA.
Right.
So, I mean...
say that number again, just because I forgot it already.
400 leagues.
400 leagues.
On 6 continents.
Yeah. I definitely... yeah, I buy that for sure. And the fact that not every league is WIFTA, recognized.
Yeah. There so many. Which is great. And we need more. We need more. And there's so much of us that it really should be in the Olympics. It should be.
God damn it.
It should be a recognized freaking sport.
It's like a broken record on that. Like everybody everywhere is always like, why is this not a thing? Why is this not a thing? This is crazy. This is crazy. And from some of the feedback I've heard when this has come up is that there's not really strong competition against one country, like that the US is such a dominating, has a dominating population. But I disagree with that, and I know a lot of people out there would. That, Australia has a very strong league.
And there was a world championship of the United States versus Australia,
right? That
was amazing to watch. That was a great game.
Yeah. And Canada also strong. And then certainly certain teams in Europe would be quite strong as well.
Yeah, the UK alone has a bunch.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it's worth it. And, again, let's build it.
Let's build it and see if they will come.
If we build it, they will come, everybody.
Build us flat track.
I know that there's an opinion about, roller derby not being as entertaining as it used to be because of the lack of, the WWE stuff.
Yeah.
But I really do think that it's a lot of people just don't know how it's played. They don't know enough about it to take interest.
I would agree with that. And I do think, as you mentioned, it is sex and violence that sell. And whenever I mention it to people I work with, like different contractors or such that I work with, they all think that I'm out there beating up other women, and I could tell that they get excited about that.
Yeah,
they'll bring it up.
There is an excitement to, controlled violence, though.
Well, there's an excitement to contact. I mean, look at freaking football.
Yeah. When people get tackled.
Those same men are having a fucking hard on over their football teams. And maybe not just men, women too certainly love their football teams, but it's and football's pretty complicated as well, like with certain things and certain penalties, and like I don't certainly know all the shit that goes along with football.
I think because football is so easy to follow, though, because you're watching it go from one side of the field to the other side of the field. Like it's clear about what's going on. Whereas like in Derby, in the pack, there is chaos. And if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know what's going on, I can see like being like, I don't.
Yeah. I totally get it. I do. I wish it had more people. And I'm sorry, but men's Derby as well, I find to be incredibly entertaining to watch. It is insane to watch men's Derby as well.
Speaking about that, Men's Roller Derby Association, the MRDA, has 59 plus open gender leagues.
Nice.
Yep. And that's all based on WIFTA standard rules, is the men's flat track. But I am all for open gender roller derby.
I'm all for it as well.
Yeah.
I think it's like I say with the team, everybody's going to have their strengths and everybody's going to have their weaknesses. Like you just got to capitalize on what works. And that goes for men, women, non-binary, transgender, like goes for the whole spectrum of gender.
I like the fact that our league is open to all genders.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoy that. But I can understand how people would be more comfortable, especially, you know, if they have any sort of trauma. They like their safe space for women only.
Yeah.
You know, but I really enjoy having, because it's especially the men who have come into our league, or it's like they're not toxic masculinity. They're there because they want to do the sport and they want to have fun and they're great people.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of your hard work and research. This was a very fascinating trip down memory lane.
You're welcome. It took a lot.
I'm sure it did.
I gave myself a migraine.
Yes, and I'm sorry about your head and your brains.
I need to not read things on my phone.
Well, I mean, that does sound like a you problem.
It really is. I mean, it's, you know, it's a sucks to suck moment.
It's a sucks to suck. I am so sorry that happened to you, but maybe now you've learned your lesson.
I have not. It's like sunscreen. I never learned my lesson with sunscreen, and this is probably just going to be another lesson that I never learn.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I'm just going to be walking skin cancer with a migraine.
Oh, wow.
It's
that went from 0 to morbid in a very short amount of time.
My skin's going to fall off, but I don't care because my head hurts.
Wow. Okay. Well, on that note, folks, please send us your emails. You can write us a letter now. We put up our new business address on our website.
We did. Oh, one last thing before we go. Should we tell them about the thing that we're doing?
I think we should tell them.
We are going to be going to the Lobster Roll in Boston.
We are so excited. The Lobster Roll is put on by Boston Roller Derby, and it's happening on September 9th and 10th, and we will be there the whole weekend.
Yes, we will. And if you are going, please stop by our booth so we can interview you. We want to talk to everybody.
Oh my God, we want to talk to everybody.
I am making it a personal mission to talk to as many players as possible.
I love that mission for you, and therefore for us.
Yeah.
And we will also have merchandise.
We will have merchandise. We're going to have shirts and we're going to have stickers.
Yeah, we're excited. We are so excited.
We are pretty pumped.
Yeah.
We're doing business.
It's coming up fast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like 3 weeks away.
It's almost intimidating because now I'm just like, oh man.
It's less than that. It's more than that. Let's just say it's more than that.
I have to put on my business suit so I can do business.
We're going to have to do things like brainstorm and whatever comes after brainstorming.
I have no idea, but I feel like we should be wearing turtlenecks and blazers.
I will not be doing that.
Because we'll be business.
I will not be wearing a turtleneck.
No, me either. I can't do turtlenecks. It makes me feel like somebody's choking me.
I just don't look good in a turtleneck.
Nobody does. Not a single person does.
That's not true. I've seen some people look quite lovely.
Do they have long necks?
Yes.
That's why.
Well, yes.
Nobody with a reasonably sized neck looks good in
We're
a
gonna get so
turtleneck.
many people just tagging us in photos
I know.
of like looking
You know what?
so
If
awesome in this turtleneck.
Like, listen, I have a really long neck.
I love this turtleneck. It was my mom's. I don't know.
This is my great grandpappy's turtleneck.
Oh, yeah. Well, folks, we hope that you have a good week ahead and just go on out there and be a goddamn delight to somebody.
Hell yeah.
So for now, this is Karnage.
And Slice.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Mom, did you listen to my podcast?
What's a podcast?